Hominid versus Neanderthal. Go!
We left Africa and spread throughout the globe. We developed into good hunters and quickly found those fruits and nuts and other plants that were edible. We had plenty of food and shelter, and from what we can tell, many of them lived long lives.
We usually think of Neanderthals as our lesser cousins, but recent findings show that we are more alike than different. Evidence has created the idea that Neanderthals were the first group to bury loved ones with grave markers.
Our diet was pretty varied. We ate fruits, berries, nuts, seeds, and roots that they could gather, as well as the animals they could hunt. We could also adept at catching fish. Fish was done using spears, bow and arrow, and nets, and even fish hooks. Some built canoes and rafts to go into deeper waters to catch larger fish.
Studying around 20 grave sites in Western Europe, researchers have concluded that Neanderthals sometimes buried their dead. This might be seen as minor at glance, considering how seriously we humans take ceremonies of funeral rites for the dead. And indeed, the tradition has long been considered something only modern humans do, but Neanderthals also practiced the act of purposely burying their dead, perhaps
Before contact with modern humans, hunters mostly went after herd beasts such as deer. However, Cro-Magnon was a good hunter and would take any animal that they could get, including mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. They had bows and stone-tipped arrows, stone spears, stone knives, and axes. They built snares and pits to catch animals. We learned how to smoke and preserve meat to help feed themselves during long cold winters. During the summer months, they would follow the herds and hunt. During the winter, they returned to their winter camps.
not only did sometimes they bury their dead, but they also might have left flowers and other grave markers with the deceased. Not only did the Neanderthals think symbolically, according to a 2018 study, they made the earliest known cave art on Earth. The study found that paintings in 3 Spanish caves were created more than 6,000 years ago, long before the modern Homo sapiens arrived in Europe.
Cro-Magnon built 2 different types of houses. During the summer month, while following their herds, they lived in easy-to-pack summer tents, or teepees. During the winter months, they lived in larger, more permanent type huts. The summer tents were easy set up by either stringing them between 2 trees or covering some sticks to tie them together teepee style with tanned hides of animals. The winter huts were usually in a permanent location and were built much sturdier. They would be roomier for a family to stay in. They were also made from tan hides that had been sewn together and wrapped around logs, which had been put into holes that they dug. They had an opening in the top to let out smoke, and they were weighted at the bottom with rocks or dirt to keep them anchored during storms.
Those were the continent's only human species at the time, so this seems to rule out all other explanations. It also indicates that Neanderthals had an artistic sensibility like that of the early Homo sapiens.
In the winter months and areas with the cold, Cro-Magnon learned to make clothing from the skins of animals. In summer months and warmer climates, clothing consisted of woven grass or bark. Cro-Magnon wore jewelry made from shells, bone, and animal teeth. Sometimes Cro-Magnon would dye their bodies or even tattoo themselves.
Currently speaking, it's definitely more insulting than call someone a Neanderthal. But if you're talking muscular, they might just take it as a compliment. Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalis, were discovered in Germany's Neanderthal Valley in 1856. They emerged between 100,000 and 200,000 years ago, give or take, in the early and middle Paleolithic area. And they use tools, albeit very simple ones. Often they resorted to using rocks and flakes broken off by rocks hitting them with other rocks, bones, and sticks, and they used fire too. Neanderthals were more muscular than later Homo sapiens, and their skulls were flatter, with broad nose and pronounced ridges on the forehead, which is why to us they look rather dim.
As for Cro-Magnons, they are pretty much just like us. They take their name from a cave in France, where Louis Lartet found them in 1868. Well, he found their skeletons. They had died a while before. Beat that!
Oh, wow. They were also capable of speech, but recent physiology discoveries indicate that their voices were high-pitched and nasal, not the brilliant grunts we normally associate with cavemen. Despite their similarities to us, they were not, a step on the way to us.
Unlike Neanderthals, Cro-Magnons are not a separate species from the Homo sapiens. In fact, they're the earliest known European example of our species, living between 35,000 and 10,000 years ago, and are actually modern in every anatomical respect. They did, however, have somewhat broader faces, a bit more muscle, and a slightly larger brain. So how'd they utilize their larger noggins? Cro-Magnon men used tools.
Neanderthals were not reliant on gathering for their sustenance, but proved themselves to be exceptional hunters with a deep knowledge of their skills and needed to capture different types of game, knowledge, strong communication skills, and coordinated attacks.
We spoke and probably sang, made weapons, lived in hunts, wove clothes, wore skins, made jewelry, and used burial riches, made cave paintings, and even came up with a calendar. Specimens have since been found outside Europe, including the Middle East.
So not only were Neanderthals crafty at making tools, quick to adapt in harsh conditions, and clever and strong hunters, they also cared for those within their family group who at the point that a member could live perhaps many years after a major injury. There were more studies of the Neanderthal life, the more we discovered their softer side.
Cro-Magnons were taller than Neanderthal, but they were not as muscular. And very important advantage is that they had much more improved technologies, language, and cultures over the Neanderthals.
Neanderthals' appearance was similar to ours. They were shorter and stockier, with angled cheekbones, prominent tuberous ridges, and wide noses. Though sometimes thought as dumb brutes, scientists have discovered that they used tools, buried their dead, and controlled fire, among other intelligent behaviors. It's theorized for a time Neanderthals probably shared the earth with other Homo species. We have low disgrace.
Well, with the advent of farming and domesticated animals to feed us as society, life became much easier for the early humans. As a result, many more humans survived the difficult of life. The population quickly rose from around 2 million humans on the earth to more than 90 million. Farming allowed people to build villages along rivers or wherever the ground was fertile enough for crops to grow. Archaeologists have found some villages that are believed to have been built more than 8,000 years ago. Some of these ancient villages, such as Jericho, still survive to this day.
Neanderthal aspirate Nope.
And keep going.
True knowledge has long promoted the interbreeding hypothesis, but really the theory cannot caught fire. Then a 2010 study published in Science magazine determined that Neanderthal DNA is 99.7% identical to modern human DNA. Its chips is 99.8% identical. Researchers of the Neanderthal Genome Project found that 2.5% of the average non-African human's genome is made of Neanderthal DNA. The average modern African has no Neanderthal DNA. This information can support that intervening hypothesis that suggests that Neanderthals and other species only bred once the other humans had moved out of Africa into Eurasia. According to a 2012 paper published in the journal PLOS, they could have interbreeded as recently as 3,300. It stopped?
No, I paused it. These kids are
37,000 years ago.
Now, who do you think won?